Hello friends, Jennifer here. This is a combined update for March and April. And if this is your first time watching one of these videos, throughout 2021, I am recapping my creative plans and my progress along the way. One of the most important things we do here at Simple Scrapper is to help you stay accountable to yourself, to help you ensure that all those beautiful creative ideas that you have actually turn into reality, that you use the products you purchase and you finish the projects that you start. And so I want to share my progress in doing that as an example this year. Of course, I have ups and downs along the way, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in this episode. All right, so you are looking at my Creative Hub inside of Trello. On the left-hand side, I have my 3 columns: create, connect, and consume, where I store some of my big picture priorities and plans for the year. And then these individual month cards here, organized by season, is really where I'm keeping track of my progress. So let's jump into March real quick. So right now, as I'm recording this, we are in May, and I'm going to recap March and April here. And then when May is over, we will delve into that. And so throughout this year, I have 3 big picture priorities: completing 100 layouts, working consistently on a one little word album in 6x8, and working on a project life photo book using Lightroom as my photo book software. And I'm going to be printing that with Blurb. I'm having so much fun with all of these, and you can see I have everything crossed off here. For the most part, one little word is being completed in the month that the content is released. My project life photo book is about kind of a week delayed. So let's just say I'm finishing March about a week into the next month, just because I have a whole nother week's worth of photos there. And you can see here, I have 15 of 100 layouts completed as of the end of March. And I am super proud of that progress. I am not known for my massive productivity in terms of like quantity of pages. I've always been very intentional and following my own ebb and flow of creativity. But this year I wanted to challenge myself to create a little bit more, to follow along with a lot of my own prompts that I'm creating for our members inside the Simple Scrapper community, and to really just lean into my own inspirations and, follow that where it will go. And when I jump into my pages, you'll see kind of the diversity of things that I'm working on right now. If you have watched the previous updates, you'll note that I have changed this notation here, and I'll check it so you can read it a little better. Instead of trying to say I'm going to do a certain number of layouts each month, it just wasn't really working for me, because I always felt like if I said I was going to do 4 and I did 3, that I was falling short. And so I'm just trying to keep track of what is my progress towards this end of year goal of 100. And so at the end of March, I had 15. Let's jump over to April, and we'll see at the end of April, I had 24 there. And so that is another big jump. Super proud of that progress. And actually now I can click this off. I have finished April project life as well. So things are feeling really, really good. You'll recall at the end of February, I was feeling a little squirrely about my daily practices. And I will admit I've kind of fallen off a little bit in terms of doing journaling in my planner and kind of doing creative practice only for the sake of it. And instead, I have replaced that with what I'm calling coffee and crafting time. And you can find my posts on that under the hashtag coffee and crafting on Instagram. And so what I'm doing is, for the first 20 minutes of sitting down at my desk, which this doesn't always happen at the same time every day, but I'm trying to make it the very first thing that I do, I am stacking a habit, and that is working on some aspect of my creativity and pairing that on top of the coffee that I consistently have every single day. So I am looking forward to this so much every single day. It's actually getting me out of bed sooner because I want to have this time for myself. There's this sense of permission that I've given myself to give myself 20 minutes that's just for me, for whatever creative little thing that I want to do before I dive into the email and the work obligations. And for someone who works at home, it's kind of challenging because I sit down at the computer and I have, everything I need to do here in front of me. But I have to make that mental pause and say, no, I am here with my coffee and I have this opportunity, this invitation to myself to say, we're going to work on creativity right now. And so sometimes that is finishing a layout, working on one page, typing some journaling, editing some photos, watching some videos for class content, anything that is consumptive or productive. It's whatever I want to do in that moment. I don't try to pre-plan it too much. I just sit down and think, okay, what do I want to do now? And yes, there have been a few times where that rolled over for several hours. And I do have the fortune that I can take that time some of the time. Most of the time I cannot. And I do need to kind of rein myself in and say, okay, this was a perfect little morsel, a little appetizer for my day. I filled my cup and now I need to jump into some of the things that are more pressing. So I just wanted to kind of give an update on that because the end of February, things were a little shaky and kind of through March. And I think that's why I didn't share an update in March because I was still marinating. I was still trying to figure out where am I going with these practices. And April really solidified that for me. And I think you'll see that in some of the pages that I have made. So what you're looking at now is my personal show and share post inside of the Simple Scrapper community. We have a show and share group where members are invited to share their pages one at a time or in, kind of compilation posts like I'm doing today. And I'm going to show this backwards here. So if you scroll down, we can see I have February and before. And so I add things kind of in a reverse chronological manner. So I have this little 6x8 layout that I made for our March refresh retreat. This was so fun to be able to take like a beautiful photo, some journaling, and just play with a bunch of repetition with my embellishments. This was kind of my take on day in the life. I did a 2-page 8.5 by 11 spread where I took 3 different photos, one of each of us at 8 a.m. on that day. I wasn't feeling kind of in the spirit of doing photos all day long on day in the life. So instead I took those 3 photos and then I kind of did some longer journaling on what our days look like right now. And I'm just so happy with how this came out. It was so fun to put together. Similarly, you'll notice I do a lot of hybrid work these days. I'm loving hybrid and I'm loving just some of the creative challenges of it. This was probably the most fun page that I've made in so long because of the challenge of putting journaling inside the heart and cropping my photos to the heart. It was so fun and I'm so proud of this page. And of course, it was also a really, really special story telling about the passing of my beloved 19-year-old kitty cat. All right, now we have here, these are some pages from my March One Little Word. I'm feeling so good that I'm keeping up with this. There's some things that have definitely shifted for me in my ability to show up regularly. That sounds like kind of simple to say, but we all know how sometimes we make these commitments to ourselves, these projects that we want to do, but then how do we show up to getting them done? And I feel like I've certainly found some groove to that, and it feels really, really good. All right, we have, this page was created for my Square One class, which is a whole mini class inside our community on creating based on sketches and templates. And so this was one based on a sketch, and then I also made a digital page based on a template. It's kind of embarrassing. I lost the final file for my digital page. I was cleaning off my desktop in a fury. And so I'm not counting that as part of my layouts, even though there is, a lower resolution version in our classroom of the digital page that I made, just as the sample for it. So And then this is kind of where things started to shift for me, as that I was feeling this huge pull towards the Allie Edwards story kits again. I had subscribed from day one in the very beginning, and I loved getting the kits, but at a certain point I felt like, oh, I have a lot of product and I need to press pause on this. So it was after that Crystal Inyate was on the Scrapbook Your Way podcast with me, and she was talking about her story planning process and how she lets the supplies that are very intentionally created, but lets them kind of guide her story exploration. And I just felt so inspired by that. And I recall that I had one story kit left that I had not broken apart. And so I sat down, I planned out 9 different stories, and here are 2 of those. And I'm having a ball with this process. And of course, I did resubscribe to the kits. And so you can expect to see more of these they're just these beautiful combinations of story and creativity together. I'm going to be doing a lot of 6x8 again. I've always loved that size, but I also want to do some larger layouts as well. And I've even been doing some 12x12, and it was participating in Scrapbook and Cards Today's magazine's Crop and Create Delivered event that reminded me, oh yeah, 12x12 is fun too. And so this next group of pages here, these are all very close interpretations of the pages that were designed for the class. So these are not my own original designs. They're just kind of my takes on that. And they're pretty true to the original. And, I had so much fun just following along, learning new techniques and how to use foam tape and, doing these kind of diagonal cuts and how you do that from a rectangle, and just being able to use a collection kit up and, cutting all these paper banners and embellishing in kind of this radial design. It was just so much fun to follow along, and for me to not be in the teaching role at all and just be a student was super fun. These next 2 are some of my favorites from the class. This one, I was able to take pictures of Steve and Emily from different seasons and really just kind of talk about their relationship and the silly things they do together and the way they are together. And so that was really, really fun. And then this was just a little bit of a light bulb moment for me, because I don't think I'd ever worked with any Cartabella collections before. And if you've never worked with it before, you need to understand that their papers are printed on basically textured cardstock. And so all the papers are just like this beautifully textured papers. And I love textured cardstock. And so just the experience of working with this and the dimension that it creates, I just love it. I immediately went out and bought 2 more of the older collection kits. And so I think you'll see some more Cartabella pages from me coming in the months ahead. So this one was super, super rewarding. All right, we have some more pages for One Little Word. These are the April pages. I've been kind of doing this in 2 sessions over the month. So I'll kind of respond to the prompt at the beginning of the month when it's released, start pulling some stuff together, and then at the end I will kind of wrap it up. And for this one, I was able to combine the prompt with participation in the Pieces of Us project, where I took pictures of different body parts and, following different prompts of full body shots or just my hand or eyes closed. It was so fun. And I love that I was able to bring that into my One Little Word project as well. All right. And then I have 2 more pages here. I did a YouTube live stream, which you can see on the YouTube channel, which if you're watching this, you're probably on YouTube. You can see me work through these 2 hybrid long journaling layouts. So I took 2 sketches from our community and used those to inspire these 2 pages. And these are probably some of the longest journaling pages, this one in particular, that I've done maybe ever, but at least in a long while. Super fun to put these together and really just be intentional about taking a significant story of weight and length and bringing the creative elements together. and also just had fun playing with pattern papers and borders. And you can see, kind of just skipping back here to the Crop and Create delivered experience, those 12 by 12 pages definitely inspired kind of where I was feeling and the types of creativity I was playing with when I did these two. And then these last two were actually, I'm not going to show those yet because these are from May. So we will stop there. In my May update, I will share more of my pages. You can see there's a variety here. I am doing 6x8, 8.5x11, and 12x12. I actually probably need to purchase another 12x12 album so I have a home for these new stories. When you think about my full kind of repertoire of what I'm doing, I've got the 6x8, one little word. I have my Project Life photo book, which is 8x10. And then I have these stories that I'm telling. And I really am just thinking of in terms of stories I told in this year. And I'm creating kind of a semi-chronological kind of in order I've created just volumes of pages. I want to have these storybooks that follow my creative inspirations, not necessarily when the photos were taken, because I'm also enjoying combining photos from past and present. So for example, this photo was taken in 2006, and it doesn't make sense for me to go create an album for 2006. This is a story based on my perspectives today, even though I chose a photo from the past. And so I'm just really having fun with that. Loving 12x12 again, just loving scrapbooking right now. And I hope you are as well. And if you have questions about my process, about Trello, about anything we're doing here at Simple Scrapper, please leave a comment below and let me know. I hope this was helpful for you and interesting. Take care and have a great week.